Y'all already know, give me a minute. I'm trying some different stuff here as always. A little shout out in the chat. Let me see if the chat is working here. I'm doing something a little different today. I got my iPad set up to where I can see the chat below me so I can see it a little better as opposed to watching it up on the camera here. What's up, Tam? Let me ask you, can you hear me pretty well? You know what I didn't do? I didn't even plug my microphone in. But hey, we're gonna make it do what it do. Okay. Um, what I'm trying to do here is use the pop out. Anybody in here know how to use the pop out chat? Because I want to make the chat a little larger so I'm able to read it while I'm out here working. Let's see here. Who else is in the room here? I see Nikki Walker. Hey, Nikki Walker. Let's see who else is in here. Just letting a few people come in. All right. Yeah. Well, it's a little better because I can definitely see the chat now. And that was my biggest issue in being out here in the garden. I like to be able to conversate with you at the same time while I'm working, but I'm using my cell phone as my camera. And of course, we already know how small that screen is to be able to read the chat and work and all. But I got my iPad loaded up below me, and I think this is gonna work because I can see this pretty well here. Afternoon growing out the box. That's B Bundy. Hey, got Slow Jams live in here. Seeing what's up. Appreciate that. Appreciate you coming in. Bridget Harris. Yeah, this is working out pretty good. I can see this. What's up, G Mama? Now, I'm glad G Mama popped up in here because G Mama is really the inspiration that went behind me doing these lives like this. I saw G Mama in her garden early one morning. I was headed out, and G Mama was just moving the camera around the garden and showing her plants that morning, and I was inspired by that. So I said, I want to do something similar to that. But of course, you know, I wanted to take it to a whole nother level and do something where I went and got my Wi-Fi booster. So that gives me a good signal out here. And let me know if my signal is good because it's looking good on the screens here. But I went and got a Wi-Fi booster, which will give me the good signal throughout the garden so I can move around a lot. And I got my iPad down here so I can now read the chat a little better. What's up, Cash Flow? I see Cash Flow just came in. Appreciate you. But what I'm going to be doing, Miss J.K. Gardner, yeah, this is working out pretty good. Y'all know how I was struggling trying to read the chat before. I didn't want to put my glasses on. So that's what that's about. I'm just out here, you know, like I said, I'm going to be inoculating some of my peas today, some of my fava beans for that matter. And I just wanted to share with you guys what that takes to inoculate those beans and peas. Let's see who else is coming into the chat. Um, yeah, this is pretty cool here. Cash Flow, I see Cash Flow in there. Um, who else is in here? We got G Mama. JT Jr. What's up, my brother? That's a boy from Georgia living over there in Alaska now. Appreciate you dropping in on me. What I'm talking about today, and I don't know if I want to just kind of float around with it a little bit until a few more people come in, but I'm doing a number of things all at one time. I'm checking the chat. I'm testing out my new system, which is my Wi-Fi. We already know that works pretty well. But I also have a larger screen mounted to my tripod here so I can read the chat without the glares and having to strain by looking at my cell phone. I got my cell phone up here, and then the the iPad on the bottom, and they're mounted onto my tripod. So working on this setup, and I'm gonna show y'all this setup. If we can get this thing right, I'm gonna show it to you, and it really is pretty awesome the way this thing is going. If I can get this thing just consistent now, with all the excitement and rushing out here, of course I will forget my microphone. So I can't walk away from the camera because I'll lose my audio. Hey, you know, that's how we do. Sometimes we get it right. That's why I need Tam here with me. See, if Tam was here with me, she would have made sure it's like, hey, come on, Keith, you don't have your microphone on. How you gonna go live without a microphone? So, hey, you know what? You live and learn. Next time we'll get it right. But let me get my little. This is a pretty good little view of the garden in its dry stages here. But what I have here are some fava beans. And you know I always have to give David Corey a shout out when I mess with these fava beans. Let's see, I don't know if I can even show them to you. I always give David Corey with the crops a shout out when we start talking about the fava beans. Let me see if I can let you see what they look like. Those are fava beans right there. Now fava beans are really good at pulling, well, first of all, they're nitrogen accumulators, which means that they fix nitrogen because they're a legume. So it's a bean, a pea, some people call them peas, but they're fava beans, and they fix nitrogen. The other day, when I did my live, I pulled up one of my fava bean plants and was showing the nodules on the roots. And I had quite a few questions that came about with people asking me, how was I able to do that? How was I able to get those nodules on the roots? So what I'm gonna be doing today is I'm gonna show you how to inoculate these beans. And what I have here in my hand is some inoculants. I don't know, look at my wife come to rescue me. She bring my microphone out, but I don't think I could plug it up and have the chat going at the same time. I'm not sure. So I could try it. Let me see that. Now, usually, see my wife trying to save me right now. She in there watching the live and she like I'm out here struggling. So she brought my microphones out. Y'all really never see the mics because I have like a vest that I wear up under my shirt and my microphone mounts into that vest. And that's why you never see my microphone. But these are my Rhodes. This is why my audio is usually pretty good. So I'll plug this into my phone and I have this mounted to my chest up here. So we're gonna try. If we lose the signal, oh well, we'll just come back in. So let's see if I can switch that. Huh? I don't have my vest on. Cause like I said, usually I have a vest behind me. Now, I don't know what happened to the chat just then. Sponsored. My chat disappeared on me. There you go. All right. CJ Calamity Jane, thanks for coming in. Let's see. Let me see if I can. Hold on, I'm gonna just. Yeah, trying to hook my microphone up real quick. Now, if it goes out, it ain't my fault, because I was gonna roll with it. Now, I got my microphone hooked up. Now, anybody can tell me if the audio is going in? Tam, G Mama, how's that audio sounding now? Did I blink my audio out or am I still in? Okay, so the audio is in. Good, good. So what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk off. I'm gonna be talking and see if the audio still goes to make sure that audio. So that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna walk off and doing test. And this is what we're doing here. So let me know if my audio faded any when I walked out. If it didn't fade any, that means we are in the game and we are rocking and rolling. So let me know if that audio faded out when I walked off. Okay, that's what's up. What's up, Mike? Mike's Chaotic Garden is in here. Appreciate it. It did fade. Oh, so that means the mic is, oh, you know what? I'm tripping. I'm straight up tripping. You know why it faded? Because they're not on. I tell you, man, I, what's that? Growing out the box, you be doing too much. Sometimes I be doing too much. So let's see here. I'm gonna walk off from the camera for a minute. Turn this mic on. Right. Now, how many of y'all can stand on y'all raised beds like that? You see what I'm talking about? Now, can you hear my audio now? 'Cause I didn't have the mics on. Now, let's see if we can hear the audio now. All right, that's what's up. All right, so now let's see if we can put this down here where it don't. So again, like I said, I usually have a vest on, so I'm gonna walk off again, and we're gonna see if that audio stays consistent. If the audio stays consistent, then we are in the game. And I think we are. So I'm walking around to the other side of the garden, coming back. So we're gonna walk back up. But I appreciate y'all for just bearing with me here. So how was that audio when I walked off? Great audio. Bingo. That's what I'm talking about. So, as that old saying goes, greatness is not given, it is earned. So the way that I'm going to try to do these lives, I want to be able to move around the garden. If I had Tam here with me, she would be trailing me with the camera. So now again, I say I have my Wi-Fi booster, which allows me to move around the garden as I'm live. I got my microphones now, so it allows me to move away from the camera without losing audio. Now all I need is a cameraman out here. We're talking about a real live show now. That's what I'm talking about. So right now I got everything up on my tripod. The chat. I really wish I knew how to do the pop out on the chat, because somebody was telling me you could do a pop out on the chat and make the chat just go all over the screen. Anybody in here know how to do that? Mike. For native sakes, appreciate you coming in. But again, I'm going to be showing you guys how I inoculate my fava beans here. These are fava beans. And I'm going to do the beautiful part about I'm going to sacrifice one. So even with me having to walk away, let's see, I'm going to go all the way to the other side of the garden real quick because I got my hoary knife over here. So even one of the things that makes this really beneficial in having a lapel mic is that you never lose audio. So that's one of my pet peeves coming from the entertainment industry. That's something that we're very particular about. Quality and audio, your video and the audio. So there's that trusty hoary knife here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring that camera down and I'm gonna let you see me pull up one of my fava bean plants. I'm gonna sacrifice it because I want you guys to see what it is that I'm doing out here. Let's see if you can get that down there. All right. All right. Yeah, so we're pretty close. Let me see if I could turn that a little bit. Back it up right there. All right. So this plant right here, this is the one we took out the other day. She's a little struggling, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on her again. Matter of fact, let me bring the camera up a little bit so you can see me also. There we go. So again, what we're doing is we're inoculating our father's beans here. That's how you get those nodules on the roots. Everybody wants to say that their legumes fix nitrogen into the soil, and your legumes actually do not fix nitrogen into your soil. The bacteria that's attached to the roots, which are your nodules on the roots, is what sets the nitrogen into the soil. Actually, it sets it into the plant, and they create a symbiotic relationship between the two. So I got a lot of questions on the last live that I did when I pulled that plant out the ground, and it's this exact same plant. And they wanted to know, how do I inoculate my seeds? So I said, you know what? I could do a video on it, but I can also do a live and then change the live, because the quality of the videos are so well, I can convert my lives now into actual long form videos. And if you've been watching that, the video about the mosquito dunks, that was a live that I converted into a video and now a short, and they're doing extremely well. So trying to do multiple things at one time, and that's taking the lives, making them into long form videos, taking parts of that, making them into shorts, and doing it all in one take. Because basically when I'm out here, if I have my camera person with me, this is essentially the same thing that I do when I'm recording a long form video. I'll just go back in and do the edits and take out a lot of the space, because a lot of times my son will be out here recording me, my wife will be recording me, my daughter, Tam, y'all know my sister Tam. One of them will be following me around the garden and recording me, and basically they'll be talking throughout the whole thing, and I'll go in and edit out everything that's in there that shouldn't be in there and make it look like, you know, it's supposed to happen like that. But I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna dig this fava bean plant up. And why am I doing that? Is because I want to show you what the nodules on the roots look like and how you get the nodules on the roots and what they actually do. And the reason why you want the nodules on the roots, and if you look at this stuff down here, I mixed wood chips in my soil. That was the thing that kind of threw everybody off when I said I was mixing wood chips in my soil. That's a no-no. From the beginning, mixing wood chips in your soil is a no-no, unless you have a nitrogen fixing bacteria in your soil. Not only do I use the nitrogen fixing bacteria, which is a leguminosarum bacteria, I'm also using fungus in the, the arbuscular fungus that's also attached to these, so that arbuscular fungus spreads its roots out into the hyphae of the soil, and then it attaches itself to the roots, and that's what mines the phosphorus out of the soil. And basically, like I said, what I'm doing in mixing wood chips into the top 3 inches of my layer, the top 3 inches layers of the soil, is forcing the legume plants to communicate with the bacteria in the soil. And what do I mean by that? Is when you mix the wood chips into the soil, it actually robs the nitrogen from the plants. So if there's no nitrogen in the soil, that forces your legumes to have to communicate with the bacteria that's in the soil, and they form that symbiotic relationship, and that's where the nodules on the roots came from. So I've been experimenting with it. In theory, it made sense to me, but to see it actually work, where I have more nodules on these roots than I ever had, I mean, it's really a beautiful thing. And I'm pulling up the chat here. Made by Tammy Terrell. Find more options to look through the menu. Yeah, Tam, I'm gonna have to get with you on that, because I can see it. I can see it pretty well, but I just want it just a little bit bigger, because that's the whole point of having the iPad out here. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up. And like I said, I pulled it up the other day. And everybody talks about nitrogen fixing, but I'm finna show you what that looks like. This live on camera. You see all those nodules on the roots there? Look like little bumps, little BBs. Those are nitrogen fixing bacterias. Those are nodules. And in that, there are millions of bacterias in that. This is what fixes the nitrogen. You see that on the end there? Can you guys see that? Let me know if you can see it. Yeah. Give me some hearts in there, some thumbs ups or something. Yeah, okay, so everybody can see it. And you look all the way up through there. You see how thick that is? Because this is initially how thick the roots are of this plant. But you look how thick that is right here. Those are the nodules that have just consumed the roots there. If you have pink and you see it, they look like a little peaches color. That's telling you that they are active and they are actively fixing the nitrogen. If you have white and they're a little smaller, that means that you have the bacteria, but it's not effectively or efficiently pulling the nitrogen from the air. The air has, let me pull this camera up here. Let's see here. Okay. So in our air, we have 98%. Let's see if I could get this thing up here. Okay. So in the air, we have 98% of nitrogen free at all times. So what these plants do, and you see how she's starting to lay down now that I've taken her out the soil. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her back in there. She already struggling, but you get the chance to see what I'm talking about from the beginning. And I'm gonna go ahead and put her back in there. Yeah, but again, the point is having those nodules on the roots is what pulls that nitrogen out of the air and it feeds it to the plant. And by me mixing wood chips into my soil, which is something that we've all been told not to do, and I will say the same, do not mix wood chips into your soil unless you have nitrogen fixing bacteria in your soil that can offset the drawdown that the nitrogen is going to take out of your soil. And I have alfalfa growing on the other side, and I did the exact same thing with the alfalfa. The alfalfa is also a legume, but it uses a different bacteria than the one that's on these fava beans. The ones that's on the fava beans are called leguminosarum. The ones that I use on the alfalfa is called a meliloti. The meliloti goes for like vetch, other clover cover crops and things like that. So it's more for cover crops as opposed to the fava beans or peas or green beans. That's what the leguminosarum bacteria is for. I'm gonna go down here and read some of the chat so we'll stay up with each other. Let's see here. So somebody type something in because I don't know if y'all just not typing or because I'm trying to read the chat. Now that I'm reading the chat, nobody wants to type into the chat. And maybe y'all just listening. I don't know. But what I use to inoculate my beans, peas, whatever it is, and I'll tell you what this thing is. Okay. With soil conditioner, with your finer pine chips, is a good idea to use. Soil conditioner basically is, they call it forest something they call it, but that's all it is. It's just wood chips grind up real fine. But that's not the same thing as what I'm doing here. This is really extreme, and if you're not careful, if you put this in, let's say a garden bed with a collards or cabbage or anything like that, your collards and cabbage are going to struggle. The reason why, and the only reason why this works under these circumstances, is because the fava beans fixes nitrogen into itself. It takes that nitrogen out of the air, and that bacteria feeds that nitrogen to the plant. So you bypass everything that's in the soil. And I guess you might say I'm a little nerdy when it comes down to that, because I like experimenting with stuff like that so I can share it with you guys. And unlike a lot of YouTubers who will come on here and they can read the scripts and tell you what it is they've read out of a book and stand next to a plant that's already growing, I want to be able to take you to the garden, show you exactly what I'm doing, the process, and the end results. And that's why my videos take so long for me to do, because I'll generally start the video, let's say 1 month, and it may be the end of the season before you even see the video. So that's why I don't post videos as often as everybody else, because I actually try to put the whole video together before I show it, because I want you to see the whole process. Because I guarantee you, if I told anybody before I showed this that I was mixing wood chips in my soil, they would have told me I was insane. They would have said my plants are going to be dying. They're going to be starved for nitrogen, all of those things. So what I learned early on in doing this content creating thing was you show and prove, you know, you show and prove. I had one gardener on Facebook, and I started off gardening over on Facebook, but this one particular gardener taught me a very valuable lesson. And I think that was the turning point in what made my channels take off. Because right now we're at 1.4 million neighbors, 1.4 million, 230 something thousand here on YouTube, 450,000 on Facebook, 402,000 on IG, 80 some thousand on TikTok. This is when everything turned. When I started showing start all the way to the end, the whole channel just took on a different direction. And a lot of that is because people don't believe a lot of the things that we say as YouTubers, as content creators. They'll be on here and basically saying, well, that's just something in theory and it's not going to work. But when you're able to show something from start to end, the only person you're going to be able to argue with is yourself. Because I'm not going to debate whether it works or not if I know I've done it and I've showed it to you from start to end. That's something that you got to deal with personally, because, hey, it is what it is. So that's why it takes me so long to put my videos together. Even with the lives, this is one of the ways that I'm trying to combat with not doing as many videos as I normally have. So with the lives, I can come in and I can take parts of the lives now that I have the quality of the lives being pretty good, and I can take those and make those into videos, because a lot of times you guys don't watch the lives on the replay. You'll just watch a video. So it's a strategic thing that I'm doing with the channel that's making all platforms work for me. So with this live, I'll be able to get a couple of shorts out of it. With this live, I'll be able to get maybe 1 or 2 long form videos out of it. And then there's the live itself. So we're taking all of the platforms, all of the ways that we can generate revenue or generate content on YouTube. We're doing it within an hour's time, and we're creating 5 or 6 different video concepts or video content out of one session. That's growing out the box. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to show you guys, is just thinking a different way, not necessarily following what everybody else is doing, looking at what everybody else is doing, paying close attention, but finding your own path and trying to figure out where you fit in between the cracks. Because everybody's doing this content creating. Now we got AI doing all of this stuff where every video you pop up is an AI video, but there's nothing like someone being able to sit in front of you and answer the questions as you ask them, and not only that, show you what it is that they're doing. So with all of that being said, this is my blackstrap molasses, unsulfured blackstrap molasses here. And I've had this thing literally for probably 3 or 4 years. I don't know. You can see how, look at the labels on this thing. That's how old it is. But a little goes a long way. Now, I like to use the blackstripe molasses to inoculate my seeds because it's a sugar source. And that's what the bacteria uses to feed off of until the roots of the beans or the peas come out. So they'll feed off of that sugar, multiply, and then by the time that the seeds start to sprout, they'll attach themselves to the roots of the plant and then infest it, which is what the bacteria is actually doing. And that's where those nodules will form, and they'll start to do the symbiotic relationship in bringing that nitrogen from the air, feeding it to the roots in exchange for the sugars now that the plant is giving. So it's a beautiful relationship. Everybody gets something out of it. We could learn something from that. So I'm gonna open up my molasses here. And I'm just gonna take just a little spoonful, not even a whole spoonful. It's probably like a teaspoon here. See the molasses there? Unsulfured blackstrap molasses. And this is how I inoculate my seeds. Just take that over, drop it into the cup. See, now this is why if I had my camera person out here, my camera person would be giving you that good visual of that molasses dropping into the cups, which is what I like to have, because most of the time y'all don't care about watching me. You want to see what it is that I'm doing, and I am all with that program. So this is my molasses here. And then what I'm going to do, I don't even want to put a lot of water in it, just a little bit of water. And this is rainwater here. And if you don't have rainwater, you can just let the water sit out for a while. And you see, you're just going to mix it up. You want to get as much of that molasses mixed into the water as possible. Now, I like to do that usually with warm water, especially if it was like in the middle of the summer. You could take your water canister and sit it out into the sun, let that heat warm it up. Or you can get you an outside, like a tea kettle or something like that, where you can warm it up. But that's basically what that looks like, just molasses water. Now, what we're gonna do with that afterwards, we're gonna create a slurry. And this is my bacteria in this bag here. And this is a leguminosarum bacteria in here. And what I'm gonna do is just pour some of that in there. I wanna create a slurry. Let's see if we can get that there. Now these are sensitive to light. So once you do this, you have to make sure that you go ahead and get these in the ground within 2 hours, because they do not like light. These are bacteria. This is what you're basically doing, is you're creating a little slurry, and the bacteria are all into this, and that's the leguminosarum bacteria. Let me see if I can read the chat a little bit here. Say, hey, Miss Shirley OG. Let's see who else is in here. Stony Homestead, what's going on? Let's see who in there. Experience Sassy, what's going on? All right, so now you see how dark that is right here? Basically like mud is what you're looking at. Now, I'm gonna show you the beans again, so you can see the difference in what they look like before and what they look like after. And then we're gonna go and plant them in another bed over there. I got another bed that I've been waiting to do this video on. Let's see if I can show you these beans up close. You see the color of the beans here? I don't want to flip them out the thing. Can you guys see that? Give me a thumbs up in there or a yes or something. If you guys can see those beans pretty good. Okay. So that's how clean they are. These are fava beans. Now, and what we're going to do is basically we're just going to drop those in our cup, in our slurry. And we want those to come out to look like there's mud on them. And what it is, that molasses water, of course, we know molasses is sticky, so that's our film that's going to stick to the seeds. And what that does is, like I said, the molasses is also sugar, which the bacteria feed off of. So until the seeds sprout, that gives the bacteria something to feed off of and multiply while they're down there. Okay. So we just mix those around. And now we'll come out and we'll show you. You see how muddy those look? Let's see here. You see how muddy the seeds look now? That's the bacteria sticking to it. That is what we mean when we say inoculating our seeds. We want that bacteria to stick to it, and that's what that molasses water does. That molasses water makes the bacteria stick to the seeds until we get them into the ground. So, I'm gonna let that sit there for a minute. Close up. And again, the bacteria is light sensitive, so you want to make sure that you keep this covered up at all times. So I always keep it in a seal bag, and they usually last about a year, 2 years. But what I can do also, now that I've had this bacteria here for a while, I can go down to my soil and I could take my soil and simply spread it around the beans, and that bacteria will transfer into another bed. So that's what happens when you've inoculated your beans. That bacteria is actually now in your soil. And after so long, if you see stuff like how I just showed you with the nodules on the roots as thick as it is, there's no question about it that this soil has that bacteria in it. And you can take that bacteria from bed to bed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the camera. And see if we can so yeah, I can guess I'll give you a better shot of it now. You see what the slurry looks like here? Let me see if I can get that spoon out of there. You see that? Basically it looks like mud. But you see how that stuff is sticking to the seeds now? That is what we call inoculating. That's when your seeds are being inoculated. And these are the fava beans here. So we're gonna take these over to our other bed here. You see these here? These are early frosty peas. Now we were just down to 25 degrees a couple of nights ago. And I'm gonna show you guys the secret into how I keep these peas living even in freezing conditions. This is pretty cool here, but they also, and like I said, you see they're starting to flower. Getting flowers in here already. So we'll be able to eat peas all throughout the winter. And then when spring comes, we terminate this crop and then we'll leave it as chop and drop. That adds that nitrogen that the bacteria added into these legumes, and it puts it back into the soil. That's how these benefit your other plants. You see all these flowers popping up now? So we'll be able to eat off of these all winter. And I'm gonna show you how I cover these up to make sure that they can survive that heat. But we'll come over here, and this is the other bed that I have. And again, see all the wood chips mixed in here? See how dark and rich that is though? This is building soil. Building soil. Look how dark and rich that is. It's compost. So, and all my beds are like that. I can go to any of my beds and show you the same thing. Over here we have some elephant garlic here. When we go down, all rich dark soil. Go down and pull any of that out. That's what all my soil looks like. And I do use wood chips on all my beds. That's cypress mulch on all the beds. All the beds. All the beds. Look how dark that is. Every one of these beds is gonna have dark soil in it. About 2 inches. Let's see here. So we go back over here. Let's see if we can set the camera up to where we can get you guys over here in with me. Trying to get it to where you can see me while I work. Okay. But basically what I'm gonna do here, I just wanna get 2 inches, 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches into the soil. Let's see if I can turn this around, just kind of show you what I'm doing here. So I'm just gonna create me a line. I'm gonna do 4 to 6 inches apart. Doesn't have to be to a science. And I want no more than this going into the soil, 1 to 2 inches. And this is what I do for my fava beans. I usually have me a little stick, but I just use my hand there, pop it down in there, and just go down. That's that little bit there. Go back over here. I'm doing my beans. Okay. And we get our beans. I go over here and get my spoon out. You see how that molasses is sticking to that spoon? That's the bacteria. That's how it sticks to the seeds as well. And while I'm not gonna punish you and make you sit here and watch me do the whole thing, I just wanted you to see the difference in what those seeds look like. You see how the dirt looks like dirt on it? That's that inoculant that's on there. And then I'll basically just go down. I'll drop the seeds on top first. I'll go down just like this here so I can see everything that I'm doing. Now it's crazy because I like doing it this way because it's kind of like a mental exercise for me as well. What it does is, you see how much of that inoculant is on that seed there? And I drop them down like that. It's kind of like a mental exercise. Helps keep you fresh. So you remember what it is that you were doing and you create a little system along the way. Let's see here. And we're just gonna do this first little row here. Like I say, you see how that that's sticking to the seeds, that's what you want. And even with that, you still have a little bit of that bacteria on the spoon when you're dropping it down there in the hole. See that bacteria on there? Now you're probably wondering like, well, you say you're gonna put it in 2 inches into the soil. I'm gonna show you how I do that. Go back. See how that looks a little dirty, looks like mud on it? That's that bacteria. So we go there. And now, and then I'll just take something like this. You see how you got the flat end on this little bamboo right here? I want to go at least 2 inches into the soil. So that's all I'm gonna do, go ahead and push that in, just like that. And that's gonna give me the depth that I want going in there. And like I say, for me, this is more of a, when I'm out here in the garden, this is more of like a mental exercise for me. I like just thinking when I come out here. It's not just about putting seeds in the door, but it's also about thinking about what's going to happen when you put the seeds in the soil. You know, so I'm always thinking about what's the next thing to do. Let me see, sit this down here. And that's basically all it is when I'm doing that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over here and I'm going to show you my alfalfa that's coming up. My alfalfa just started to sprout. So we're going to take you over here and let you see it. And this is what I'm really excited about. This is my alfalfa. Look at it, baby, sprouting up everywhere. Same thing, wood chips, all throughout the soil. Wood chips, and they're popping up everywhere. Now this alfalfa has a 6 to 15 foot tap root. So it goes down and mines all the minerals deep within the earth and brings that back up. And then we'll be able to take those and add them back to our soil. Look at that, they're coming all up over here. See that? It's alfalfa popping up everywhere. Now I'm gonna thin this out, but for the most part, it's just gonna be a wild patch. Let's see here. Sit the camera up. So that's pretty much what I'm doing out here, you know what I mean? I love just being out here and experiment. And this here thing here too, let me make sure that you understand this part. You see this right here? These are the wood chips that I'm using. These are aged wood chips. You see they're not as thick as the wood chips I normally would put down, the cypress wood chips that I normally put down. These are aged wood chips. Now, why would I do aged wood chips as opposed to fresh wood chips? Because the aged wood chips are like a 80-to-1 carbon to nitrogen, whereas fresh wood chips, or even the stuff that you get out the big box store, the bag stuff, is more like a 300-to-1 carbon to nitrogen. So that means that it'll take more nitrogen to break that down if it's in that 300-to-1 range, as opposed to aged wood chips, which are in the 80-to-1 range. So it allows that nitrogen or the bacteria that's already in the soil to break that down even faster. And because they're aged and they've already been out here in my garden, I basically take those and add them back into the soil after they've been out here for a year. So that means all of my native bacteria, all of my native fungi has already colonized that the wood chips. They've already been colonized. So once I put them back into the soil, they fit right back in. So you're going to have your mycelium start to show up. You're going to have your arbuscula, which is not visible to the eye, but how do you know you have arbuscula in your soil? It's because I put arbuscula in my soil. That's how I know I have arbuscula in the soil. And what the arbuscula mycorrhizal does, it extends itself like a hyphae, like basically a spider web network. It goes down, taps into the deeper branches of the soil, and it brings up phosphorus. So now you're talking about your fertilizer inputs are going to be less. And that's really what we're all into, talking about closed loop gardening, where we're eliminating having to go out of our way to, I guess you might say, reducing your carbon footprint. That's not really why I'm doing it, but at the end of the day, that is what it is. So we'll do like stuff like this here. I have comfrey, I have a helicopter flying over. Like I have comfrey mixed in on all my beds. You got comfrey mixed in here. That's growing slow right now because of course it's fall time. Comfrey mixed in on all the beds. Then you got tillage radish. All this down here is tillage radish. You see that? See that down there? It's tillage radish. You want that to go down. Daikons. See how big those things are here? They're going to go down till into the soil. You know how large those things are? They're going to go down probably a foot into the soil. And then I just let them stay there. When the season is over, I chop and drop those and allow them to decay in the soil. The earthworms comes up and eats them. You're eliminating your fertilizer needs. Every time you do that, you're limiting your fertilizer needs. Makes it that much simpler. So, let me go over here, show you guys some of this. I know we're getting a little off topic because we were talking about leguminosums and all of that, but all of the beds, no such thing as uncovered soil. Every bed out here, and this is where some of my elephant garlic is coming up at. You see all of this. And you can go down every one of the beds, look at that moisture content. What's up, Nikki? Everyday life of an OCDist chick. Getting this thing a little better, Nikki, tuning it up. Yep, so let's see what else we have here. Right here, we got some lima beans here. Now I'm gonna show you that freeze came in and knocked fire from these lima beans. So you see my giant limas, they pretty much done. But same thing, we're gonna come down here. Remember, these lima beans are, let me get my knife, pull that up. And I'm gonna show you something over there as well. It's the trusty hoary knife here. You gotta have one of those. So I'm gonna show you guys again. Like I said, everybody talks about nitrogen fixing bacterias and how they're growing their beans for nitrogen to be back into the soil, but nobody's showing you the bacteria. Once again, look at all of this. You see that white there? I just dug this up. You see that white? That's mycelium there. That's what's also breaking down those wood chips. So all of this stuff is happening right here. It's fungi and bacterias. And we're gonna go down and we're gonna dig up one of these plants here, and let's see what's happening on this. Like I said, this is not made up. Let's see. We got anything on here? Yep. Well, this one doesn't have anything. Let's see here. What else we got in here? Yep. Nothing happening there. Let's see here. We'll find something. And this here is, like I said, all this mycelium. See that? Totally colonizing everything over here. It's good, healthy soil, showing your moisture content. Let's see what this one is. Look at all that mycelium. See all that white in there? It's healthy soil. Look at all that. See all that? All that mycelium. Can't make that up. That's what goes down and helps feed those plants. Good, healthy soil everywhere. Let's see what else we got here. So that's pretty much what we're doing. Now here's something too, a jewel that I want to show you guys. I don't know how many of you are doing this. This is why you don't see insects around my garden too tough. This is chrysanthemum daisies, pyrethrum. And this is all organic, pyrethrum daisies. This thing will knock down anything that you want. The flowers is what you want, but that's what these are, pyrethrum daisies. You make you a tea out of this, you can spray any insect in your garden and it'll knock them down. And this is all organic. It'll last for about 12 to 24 hours on the leaves, so you want to spray it at night. But after 24 hours, it goes away. So it limits the opportunity that it has to affect any of the pollinators. But chrysanthemum daisies is what you want. And like I said, I'm going to be showing you guys all of this stuff going into next season, stuff that I've been kind of fooling around with. And then we come over here, brassicas. None of this stuff is covered up. Not that I won't cover it up, but none of this stuff is covered up. Insects are not bothering it. None of this stuff is covered up. Cabbage. See the cabbage buried up in there? And on top of the cabbage, you still got our basil. This is our dark opal basil that's got killed by the cold, but I still leave it in there. Collards here as well. Look how beautiful those leaves are. They're not covered up, no netting. You got a little bit of insect damage right here, but that's not much at all. So, I guess we're gonna wrap this thing up, because like I said, my biggest thing was just showing you guys how to inoculate those seeds. And we've gotten that done. So let's see if we can do a little chatting for a while. Let me go up here and sit this thing, go up here and do my old man, sit up here on my rocking chair. And we're gonna talk a little bit. All right. So this is something that I have not been able to do. And that is just sit down with you guys and chat. So now I got my little system set up out here. We can do this all day long. What's up, Miss Nikki, the OCDist chick? Let's see who else is in here. What is that? Duda Smurf? Duda, whatever that one is. Let me see here. So let's talk a little bit. I see Mike here, Lynetta Lawrence. What's going on? Miss Shirley OG. Hey, how you doing? Um, okay, Lynetta, I see Lynetta has a question. So what did you add in with the molasses to help the fava beans? What I added into the molasses was an inoculant, and that is what's called a leguminosarum bacteria. And that bacteria is what actually fixes the nitrogen into the soil. It's not the peas, it's not the beans, it's none of that. That's not where the nitrogen comes from. The nitrogen comes from the air. And what it is, that bacteria takes that nitrogen, which is 75% of the air that we breathe has nitrogen in it. And the bacteria takes that nitrogen and fixes it into the nodules on the roots, and the plant feeds off of that. In exchange for the nitrogen, the plant releases exudates into the soil in form of carbohydrates and sugars. And that is that symbiotic relationship that those two form. The plant gives it sugars and the bacteria gives it the nitrogen. It's a beautiful relationship. So let me see. Anybody got any questions about the inoculating the seeds or whatever? Let's see. Do I use labs? Absolutely, I use labs. Lactic acid bacteria. I actually have some. Let me see here. So you're gonna make me get all off track now. Let's see here. I can't do it. Well, I was going to show you my fish hydrolysis, my fish hydrolysate, but it's in a covered container that's dark, so you can't see it anyway. So I don't know what I was thinking about just then. But yes, I use labs with my fish hydrolysates, which is like I use a cup of rice water, my liquid whey, which comes from spoiled milk. I use a cup of each of those, mix in the raw fish parts, which is like the scales of the fish heads, the fish guts, grind it up in a blender, let it sit for like 3 to 4 weeks. Fish hydrolysates, no more paying for fish fertilizer. It's a real simple process. You can also do that with your, see a lot of people, we call it super juice in the community. Miss Linda calls it super juice. That's where I heard it from. Super juice is what Miss Linda calls it. We take all of our plants from around the garden, stuff it into a bucket, leave it to the side, and then it comes up with this real bad smell. Well, we don't have to deal with that smell if you use it as a fermented plant juice. And that's 50% of brown sugar to equal parts of whatever it is, the plant parts that you're going to be putting in it. It gives you a nice, sweet, like a wine type smell to it, and it does not have that smell that fish fertilizer has, and it actually is better than fish fertilizer. But that's what I use on my plants. That's why you guys haven't seen me with the fish fertilizer bottles of late. One of the things that a lot of people used to say when I first started gardening was, why are you buying all of this stuff? And well, I buy the stuff because I read the bags. You know, now I guess you can go online and get that stuff, but I like to purchase it, read the ingredients on the organic stuff. I like to read the ingredients and then put it to work in the garden to see what it's doing and then see if I can mimic the results. And the only way that you can do that is you have to do it with the store-bought product first, and then to see if whatever it is, the theory that you're working on could replace the store-bought product. And that's what I do out here in the garden all the time. So my thing is not how much food I can grow. That's not why I grow. And some people might say, well, why would you say that? I don't grow necessarily to see how much food I can grow. I grow to see how much I can grow. That is how much information I can take in. And if I need to grow anything, all I got to do is put a plant, plant the seeds because I know how to grow it. So that's what my goal is out here, and to share that with you guys as I go. The blessing for me is, like I said, being able to experiment and not being in a situation to where I need to have food on the table and I have to do it a certain way, to where we have the luxury of being able to come out here and do these kind of things so I can share it with you, because that's really what the channel is all about, growing out the box. It's about thinking a different way, trying things that you haven't done before, even like doing these lives. I never in a million years would imagine me sitting up here doing a live. Um, Nikki was here with me when I first started. Matter of fact, she was on the first live with me. G Mama, another one that taught me. These are the ones that taught me how to go live. I'm still learning because I don't want to just go live, but I want to be able to do stuff like this, like the quality of the video when I'm out moving around in the garden. Now that I have that situated, now it's kind of just trying to get a format on how I want to present what I'm doing in the garden. You see how me walking around showing you what I'm doing live. Well, now all I need is a camera person to follow me around, and I can do a live that's just as good as a long format video. That has been my goal since day one in trying to even start doing the lives. And I could have did it like everybody else, which I did in the beginning, sat the camera up in my sunroom and kind of sit there in front of the camera like I'm doing now. But that's not really what I want to do. I want to do something slightly different than what everybody else is doing, and stuff like what I just showed you, taking you out to the garden, doing stuff live, and then having you ask the questions right there on the spot. Um, Stony Homesteads. I'm a new subscriber, but I like the approach of gardening. Thank you, sir. The sir or ma'am, I'm not sure which one, sir or ma'am, but I really do appreciate that. But yeah, I just love exploring. The whole journey of this gardening thing is really what keeps me motivated. Even like my citrus mix that I came up with. A lot of people were saying, well, having a citrus mix and the moisture in it's going to cause root rot. Well, the first thing that I'm going to say is, well, I want to know if that's true. So with that, I came up with my own citrus mix. I got a citrus mix that's all organic, that I'm using organic fertilizers on it, and it's producing huge fruit. Leaves are green, just everything that you would use out of the synthetics, everything that will be coming out of the synthetics, I'm getting the same things out of organics, simply for experimenting with different bacteria. And I got a new bacteria, not a bacteria, I got a new fungus that I've been adding into my blueberry bushes. This is going to be for the spring followers. When y'all get out here in the spring, I'm going to be showing you guys this new bacteria. It's accessible, but it also acts like hyphae, and it takes those roots down deeper into the soil to let them mine for different minerals and nutrients, which gives those blueberry bushes even more of a boost. So, but speaking of the blueberry bushes, I'll be remiss to not show you how they're doing right now. Kind of my thing here. Now, that autumn, look at that beautiful. Now, here's the thing. Look at these babies trying to flower already. Look at that color on them. That is what your blueberry bushes should be looking like. Now, these are my babies here. I kind of, if you've been following the channel long enough, you know that I am very, very particular about my blueberry bushes. But look at that autumn color on here. Isn't that just beautiful? Yes, sir. These are my blueberry bushes, my my blueberries, as I like to call them. This is a Northland here. So she's going to lose all her leaves because that's just what this is northern high bush, a northland. She's going to lose all her leaves, and you see down there. Now, what I do is I take all of those leaves out of those beds. You don't want to do that because you could be harboring things like anthracnose or septoria down there. So I take all of that out. But as you can see, wood chips all across the top. So it's nothing to take a vac and vacuum all of that out. Let's see. This is a bless your heart here, and this is a, a rabbit eye. So she's going to be taller than my average bush here. J3GS Farms, he has, I believe, rabbit eyes. That's why everybody was saying his bushes are like 10 feet tall. Well, my bushes aren't going to get that tall, with the exception of this, this rabbit eye here. And then you have the pink lemonade, which is a cross between a rabbit eye and a southern high bush. So it has lineages of both. But you can see that this one's already 6.5 feet, maybe 7 feet tall. And that is that's the pink lemonade here. This is a hello darling. The hello darling is only going to get 4 to 6 feet tall, so she's almost at her height. And now take into account now, for y'all who are watching, this is what those bushes looked like last year. You see these right here? These are all my cuttings and stuff that needs to go in the ground next year. I said I was going to put them in the ground this year, but I just didn't get to it. But this is what those bushes looked like last year. Oh yeah, your boy got them greens popping over here too, so it ain't just in one spot. Oh, man, y'all have me all over the place. You see these right here? Let me step back. This is something that I was gonna show you guys too. This is $8 to keep this. These are, I got these from Home Depot, Lowe's, and they go in concrete. They're concrete wires. You take those and then you throw your frost blankets on top of that, you ain't gotta worry about nothing. And they'll go over anything. But again, just going back to the blueberries, this is a bless your heart here, and that's rabbit eye, so she's gonna get taller. This is the first year bush here. This bush was those size last year. Look at the big difference in it. It's in that soil mix. That's another bush that was just put in this year. That bush was probably about 2 feet tall last year. It's 6 feet tall this year. That's a bless your heart. This bush is 3 years old. How huge she is. And they're 6 feet apart. And everybody was asking me why was I giving them so much space? Because you see how that's starting to reach over to this one? 6 feet apart is just what you need to have these blueberries set in stone. Because once they start developing themselves, you see how I got just enough walk room. And what that does is it allows air circulation to go around them. And that's what you want. That's how you keep the disease down. You allow air circulation to go around them. Go back over here. Still, we're gonna sit up and we're gonna chat for a little while. This is my little serving station right there. But let's see here. Yep, let's sit down and let's chat. So again, going back to the inoculating our seeds. Anybody have any questions on that? Let's say mine been about a foot tall for 2 years. That's Notorious KS8. I can almost guarantee you that it's your soil. If your blueberry bush has been stunted in growth, I can almost guarantee you that it's your soil. A lot of people think you could take these things and just throw them in the ground and whatever it's going to be is going to be. Some people can do that, but that would probably mean that their soil is acidic. Most of us don't have soil acidic enough to be able to grow blueberries successful. So that's what my mix is. My mix is anywhere from a 4.5 to a 5.5. And I have my pH meter that I can go out and I test them every so many months. So I'm able to be consistent with that. The bushes that are in the 3-year range, I haven't done anything but my twice a year maintenance on them, and it's still in that 4.5 to 5.5 range. That is where you want your blueberry bushes soil to be. If not, they're going to struggle. They're not going to produce the type of fruit you have. They're going to be more disease prone. And for most of you guys here, y'all have seen me raise my blueberry bushes from the day that I put them in all the way up until now. So it's tried and proven. So when I hear people say that they're just gonna throw them in the soil and see what happens, why would you waste 2 to 3 years just to figure out what you already knew from the beginning? Just do it right the first time. And that's one of the things that I try to do out here. It takes a little more time to do it the way that I do it, but everything that I've put out here and I've done it once, and it's growing well. I got plum trees going down the north side of the garden. That's going to be my back line. So the garden goes down, goes from south to north. All my large plants are in the back, all my plum trees. I got a almond tree back there, my lemon trees, my citrus, Poncirus trifoliate, and I'm going to have some more fig trees that I'm adding in, my black mission. So just trying to stay consistent. Pete, do the do the math. I guess that's what that's called. Do the math. You're asking about Pete? I don't know. Oh, we got somebody from Germany in here. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you coming in. Anybody else got any questions about what we got going on here? Like I said, it's not too often that I sit down and able to actually have a conversation, but I'm loving this whole setup right here because I have my cell phone up top, which is my camera. I can go back and forth, but then I have my iPad mounted to my stand so I can really see the chat and I can communicate with you. That's been one of the negatives that I've had in doing my lives out here in the garden and being able to see the chat in a size that was comfortable for me. So we are definitely there now. Dee Dee in the heat. I have a question. Where can I get those mini pine bark nuggets? Um, I've been looking for them. The mini pine bark nuggets, I get them from Lowe's or Home Depot. I'm in Georgia Zone 8A. Um, we're going to be doing a citrus expo this weekend down in South Georgia, and I'm going to be hanging out with Stan the Citrus Man, Madison's nursery, citrus nursery down there. So going into 2026, we're going to have a whole lot more going on growingoutthebox.com. And those guys are really feeding me a lot of information that I need to have in order to be successful, not just out here in the garden, but as an entrepreneur and trying to take the website and turn it into an e-commerce, something that's really special for you guys. So with the stuff like the fir bark. If you can't get the pine bark mini nuggets, you can use fir bark. I know that's available in a lot of places, but the fir bark is far more expensive. Truth be told, the fir bark is actually better than the mini pine bark nuggets. So I just gave y'all a jewel that I'm going to be sharing next year because I actually have access to the fir bark, but all of that's going to be happening going into 2026. So we're going to be going live from the Citrus Expo down in South Georgia, which is with Madison's Citrus Nursery. I know Stan the Citrus Man from South Carolina is going to be there, and I'm just going to be taking in a whole bunch of information. Me and Tam going down, and we just going to hang out and absorbing as much information as we possibly can so we can come back and we can share that with you guys. Let's see here. Lynette says she has a question. What do you put on your fig trees in North Carolina, purchased from Lowe's this year? Um, Fig trees in North Carolina, I'm not sure that they'll survive in terms of the top growth. Last year, my fig trees are 3 years old, and this last year was the first year that they didn't die all the way back. And this year, they just took off. I got one that's over 6 feet tall, and I don't even know if I want it to be that big. So I'm thinking about moving it because it's blocking one area that's going to start creating its own microclimate, and that's going to stop some of the light getting in from certain areas. So what I may do is prune it, just do some unique pruning on it to make it into a tree as opposed to a bush. So we're getting dark out here. Let's see if we got any other questions. Mike's Chaotic Garden. I started my bonnet in zone 4 February, but I can't put the towel, put it in until June. What are bonnets, Mike? You just got me on that one. What's up, David Corey with the crops? What's up, my brother? We've been out here showing how to inoculate these seeds. That's something that you would have took pretty good too, because I was showing those fava beans that you shared with me a while back, and I was showing them how to inoculate the seeds and the bacteria that's on those things. So I really appreciate you, brother, for coming in. And we've been up here for a minute. Let's see. Any other questions we got here? Like I said, we were inoculating our seeds. I had some more fava beans I was putting out. Let's see. For Native Sakes Garden, when and where is the event in Georgia, and can anyone attend? Yes, it's a citrus expo in Tam, can you put the link up in there if you're able to? It's it's Madison County, I believe it is, but it's closer to Tifton, Georgia. Tam, if you could put that link up in there for the 2025 Citrus Expo, it's going to be pretty nice. It's got a lot of big wig citrus guys are going to be there, and this year was my first year growing citrus. I got some of my citrus from Stan, the citrus man up in South Carolina, and then I hooked up with Madison Nursery down in South Georgia, and Madison's going to be one of my suppliers for my citrus moving forward. And we're going down just to kind of powwow a little bit. Going to be adding that to the website. So if you go to growingoutthebox.com, you're going to be able to see citrus coming soon. The main ones that I have up there now are going to be the ones that I'm growing and I can directly speak on. But what I'm going to be focusing on is cold hardy citrus. I'm not really concerned with having a bunch of citrus trees out here that I got to be taking in and out every day. I'm looking strictly for cold hardy citrus trees, anything that can go from maybe a zone 7 on down. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. OCD-ish chick. Will you be doing any more fig videos in the near future? Yes, actually, I just got an endorsement from one of the those little battery operated pruners. So I'm going to be doing a video with those battery operated pruners, and I'll be showing how not only to prune my fig trees, but I'll be showing some of the things that I'm going to be doing, because I use that same spray that I use on my blueberry bushes, the liquid whey that comes from the spoiled milk. I spray that on my blueberry bushes, and that's to keep the funguses and bacteria off of that throughout the fall. I spray my blueberry bushes also, even throughout the fall, with that liquid whey, I'm sorry. And one of the reasons that is because even in the wintertime, you still have the opportunity for funguses to harbor over and then carry back into the season. So that's one of the reasons why you see how healthy and nice those blueberry bushes are looking. Let's see any other questions. Thank you. Juan Pablo Is that what that is? Juan Pablo is the one that answered that question, asked that question. Uh, yeah, yeah. Nikki, G Mama, uh, made by Tammy Sherrill, all those my great moderators in there. Mike's Chaotic Gardening. I couldn't do this without them, and they already know how I do. Some people talk about sending checks. I make sure that my moderators are taken care of. So when we get those citrus going, y'all already know how it's gonna do. We're gonna share them citrus with some of all of our moderators. We're gonna be sending some of those out to you guys because I want you guys to be a part of this whole journey. As I said in the beginning, as the channel grows, I'm gonna share it with you guys because none of this is possible without you. We're at 1.4. I think we counted it the other day when we was over with Tam. We're at 1.4 million neighbors collectively. So that is a blessing within itself to see that we've did this in the last 3 years, that this channel has grown, the community has grown. And like I said, it's not possible without you guys. And we're gonna be doing a lot more of these chats. And I appreciate you. That's right, OCD is chick. Neighbors, Nikki. I feel like I know a whole lot of you guys. Mike's been around. Mike's like, I don't know if it's G Mama or Mike. I ain't trying to exclude nobody. G Mama or Mike, y'all got to be like the number one moderators on everybody's channel because it's like every channel I go on, G Mama and Mike is a moderator, and they be on it. Nikki, that ain't taking nothing away from you because I know you doing your own little thing, but G Mama and Mike, y'all got to be y'all on a whole nother level. I mean, you're on a whole nother level, and I can't thank you guys enough for all. Even like I said, I have to give G Mama, and I told her I was gonna shout her out. I know that's not what she wants, but G Mama is really the reason why this chat is the way it is right now. If I had not seen G Mama doing her live early one morning, I probably would not have tried to do a live out here in the garden. And when I did the live out here in the garden, I saw how messy the signal was, which made me start researching to see if I could come up with a better way to do a live out in the garden, which came up with my Wi-Fi booster. I got my Wi-Fi booster now, so now I can give a great signal out here in the garden, and then my microphone and all. So all I need now is my camera person to follow me around, and we can do everything that we need to do out here in the garden live with the questions and all. And that's what next year is going to have until. Oh, and before we get out of here, that composting challenge is coming, and we figured out how we're going to do this. I'm not going to have a so to speak winner. There's going to be a participation. So anybody who's going through the whole process is going to be an 18-day composting challenge. If you are willing to go through those 18 days, kind of like one of those exercise programs, if you go through the whole process, you qualify to win. We're going to pick 5 winners. We're going to roll the wheel, and those 5 winners are going to be picked. And then from that, we're going to select gifts for each of those 5 people. So it's not about who has the most experience in doing this. It's not about who has the best compost at the end. It's about participation. And that's a big part of why I want this channel to grow the way that it's growing. I want everybody to be able to participate. I don't want anybody to feel like it's something that they can't do. It is labor intensive. So for some of the people who may not be physically able to do it, you can bring somebody over to help you out. The whole thing is participation. We want you to be able to upload. So there'll be one upload in the beginning where you compile all of your stuff together. There'll be a 4 days sit period to let your pile heat up. And then we'll start turning the pile every day for the next 14 days. And at the end of that 14 days, you should have compost that's ready to be used in the garden. And if you've gone through those stages, that 18-day process of making your compost, you qualify as a winner. So we're going to roll the wheel. We're going to pick 5 winners out of that. And from those 5 winners, we're going to give away the prizes. I mean, it's just been a blessing, man. And I just want to share all of this with you guys. So on that note, it's getting dark out here. And we're going to say, signing off, peace. Thank you guys for coming in and hanging out with